Welcome to Canada's Mental Health in Youth series, Elevate Yourself, which is supported by TD Bank. My name is Anu Srivastava, and I'm the Executive Director of We Serve Canada, and I'll be your host today as well. This is a segment of 10 workshops, and right now we are at our third workshop in the diet and nutrition segment, which focuses on the importance of micronutrition on brain health. First of all, I would like to thank every one of you who attended our last week's session, which was on emotional resilience and mental fitness with our guest speaker, Mohammed Sheikh. A conversation we had. We're so grateful for the support for the series. But now moving on to our workshop, let's begin by introducing our very, very special guest speakers today. So my first guest speaker is Kristen, who is a holistic national practitioner, and she has been in the wellness field for the past 30 years. And so it's an amazing number of experience that we have on our team over here. And next is Priyanka Yogini, who's a holistic certified yoga teacher. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you, Anu, for having us.
So I think I will start with the questions right away. And my first question is that what is micronutrition and why is it so important for youth's mental health? I guess I'll start with Kristen.
Yeah, so micronutrition is, well, actually, you know what, let me explain the other side of micronutrition. So we have macronutrition and we have micronutrition. And macronutrition is our proteins, our carbs, our fats, which of course we've all, learned and probably have heard somewhere that we need to make sure we get our protein and our carbs and our fats and make sure they're balanced. Now the micronutrition is, we hear so much about that macronutrition, but I believe that we don't talk enough about the micronutrition. And now micronutrition is actually the smaller micronutrients that our cells actually need to thrive, basically, right? Because we don't want to just survive, we want to thrive every single day. And so we're looking at minerals, we're looking at vitamins, we're looking at phytochemicals and antioxidants and all of those small little micronutrients that really our body on a daily basis, Anu, our body cannot survive without them. So when we eat macronutrients, and as long as our digestion is working optimally, our body will break down those macronutrients and it will become more micro, right? And so this has a huge impact on how we feel. We'll talk about later some of the signs of deficiency, but how we feel on a daily basis, our level of optimism. If we're lacking optimism, and especially when we think about what's going on in the world, we can lack optimism and motivation. However, if we are getting more micronutrition into our bodies and into our cells and our brain, of course, because our brain is an organ that needs lots of nutrition, then what happens is we start to see things differently, we start to behave differently, we start to feel differently, and all of that makes a huge difference on how we show up in our everyday.
No, thank you, Kristen, so much for actually explaining the difference, because like you rightly said, we have searched the about the protein, the carbs and all that. However, I did not know how it fitted into that category of macronutrients. And the micronutrients are more the vitamins and the other things that make you feel good. So my next question is that how can micronutrition strengthen the brain? And I guess the follow-up question to that would be, what to optimize our health?
So when we think about the brain, I mean, the brain is part of our nervous system, right? So the brain is up here, and then we have the spinal cord that runs off of the brain. And if we think about on a daily basis, our cells, like our brain is made up of cells, our organs are made up of cells, we are made up of trillions and trillions of cells. And every second, like just now, we had about 10 million cells die in our body. And just right now, we had about 10 million new cells recreated. So if we think about our brain, if we think about, any organ in our body, as those cells are dying and regenerating, the key is to remember is that we have to realize that if we're putting in the right nutrition and the right micronutrition, then what happens is the body is going to be able to take that nutrition and start to regenerate those cells that die back into healthy new cells. So depending on what's going on right now, if a person's dealing with anxiety, dealing with any brain disorder, it doesn't matter what it is, or any health condition in their body, know that when you make a decision to start putting in good and removing the bad, and there's a lot of different pieces to that, then what happens is our cells start to take that good, take all the good, just think of all the good nutrition, think of all the fruits and vegetables and berries and all the nutrients that it provides. Then what happens is the body takes that and the cells take that and it uses that as material, building block material to build up the brain or build up an organ, whatever it might be, to allow that organ to work optimally. So if we want to think clearly, if we want to have more energy, if we want a better cognitive function, whatever it is, we need to think about what is it that I'm doing on a daily basis to feed my cells, so as my cells die and then regenerate back into new cells, they're going to take those building blocks and make it into something better. So think of it as your foundation. What is our foundation? So hopefully that kind of answers the question, because with that question I can go all over the place, but we really do have to think about that, the building blocks will then help to build a healthier brain, healthier organs, healthier body systems, and in turn that we start to feel differently and, like I said, act differently and just really show up more powerfully.
Because we all don't have medical backgrounds, but definitely it does make sense that our bodies are made up of cells and they die, like millions of them die at any moment and millions of them regenerate. So at any given time, if we are feeding the right nutrients in our bodies, then obviously it's going to produce. So expand that a little bit more and talk about what are the nutrients, what are the micronutrients that are needed to optimize our brain health. Maybe if you can just give from some simple day-to-day examples of foods or vegetables or whatever that is, what are the micronutrients that would actually optimize the brain health?
Well, the first one, and then I'm sure that Priyanka has lots to input as well.
Yeah.
But the first one, what I'll say
Priyanka, you want to go ahead and talk about it first?
No, let Christine move forward and then I'll add on to it for sure. Yeah.
I'm just going to talk about omegas. And
I was about to say omegas, but then I can add.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
We think in the same track.
Yes. So omegas are in the fat category, so macronutrition, right? So when we think about, cold water, freshwater fish, we think about seeds and nuts and avocado, those would be a macronutrient. However, omegas, regardless, when we talk about nutrition in general, omegas are essential. Our brain is almost all fat, and our brain needs to have, because again, cells die and regenerate, our brain needs to have that fat on a daily basis. So making sure that in your meal, that you have, seeds and nuts. You are eating avocado. I recommend, and I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but I recommend, I talk a lot to clients about filling the gaps. We can't get everything that we need from our food. That's going to be another question after. However, we do need to supplement with omegas because our body essential fats, they're essential because our body cannot make them. So we need to make sure that we're getting healthy fat from an outside source. Now, the other thing is that if your body does not have enough healthy fats, the omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, then what happens is your body is going to look for any fat that it can find within your body. And for most people, it's not going to be high omega-3s. It's going to be more omega-6s, which are not bad, but they're more anti-inflammatory and they're more widely available. And we tend to eat them more so, or trans fats, or hydrogenated fats. Like most people, again, for the cells to regenerate, they're going to pull from whatever it can find in your body. So it's very, very important. If you're pregnant, a growing baby needs omegas. If you're, postpartum, mom needs omegas and the baby does. Children, school-age children, if they want to function optimally, concentrate, have more calm energies, for example, then kids need omegas as well. Adults, if you are, even animals, right? So if we are walking on this earth, we need to have those omega-3 specifically. So, like I said, I use a vegan omega that I supplement in my family and also with clients as well. And it's the omega-3s that are really, really important. Priyanka, do you want to add to that?
I think, Priyanka, I want to ask, just extending the omega-3s, and I know that you have a little bit of an Ayurvedic, not little bit, quite a bit of an Ayurvedic background. So I wanted to ask this question specifically because I'm sure we have a lot of us who are with the clarity, but for us Indians and South Asians, it's called desi ghee. So this clarified butter, how does that fit into the omega-3 category, and what does it really do? Maybe if you can shed some light on that perspective of omega-3, it would be really great.
Sure. So, as Christine was talking about vegan resources, vegan source of omegas, which are like easy for a body to absorb. And one beautiful thing, Kristen, you mentioned that body get to feel, and if you are feeding it good, and amongst all the choices, it will pick up good. So in our community also, if we see something is good, we are most likely to go there if we know that's good. And body is super intelligent machine. It'll go to something which is good. And if you're not providing it good, then it'll go for omega-6 or whatever the trans fat or whatever choices are there. So the month of January, I am going, I'm doing detox, enemas, and everything. And the way I never felt before. Like I'm feeling high energy, doing more exercises, more yoga, and like different kind of things. So to add on to your answer to your question is purified, clarified butter, which is desi ghee, as really a healthy fat. It can supply brain. So in our culture, like where India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or like here also, we are adopting that. You'll see in health food stores, desi ghee is there, which is food for your brain. And brain cells are specifically like fat cells. They thrive on the basis of keto is because your brain eats more fat than it requires fat to an optimum amount, like really good amount. And to add further, like you need certain nutrients like trans minerals, which are potassium, sodium, zinc, and I'm thinking of Carb Cycle, that everything, your thought is energy, food is energy, and body, uh, you know, converts everything into energy. And the elements of that is the macro minerals and those small, which you need in really small amount. That's why it's called trace minerals and nutrients, vitamins. And so in my school, I used to read, okay, we don't need it much. So I don't need it. My interpretation to that was, I don't need it at all, or I need it like really minimal. But then we need to supply that with greens. Your body will pick up magnesium, which is also, Carb Cycle is the cycle which tells you, or which is body's way to convert energy. It's kind of an ATM.
Okay.
ATM machine in the body. So whenever your body wants money, currency, any currency, it can take out from that ATM machine. But what if there is no supply inside? So we have to give supply, and desi ghee is one of these sources. Avocado, avocado oil, because it comes from avocado. So rather than having avocado, you can give your body avocado, and then, be less, you can be like, since 10 days, I'm oil free, and I'm going to do it for 20 more days. I'm going to do it for 1 month, so that body body can pick up, because I'm supplying all the nuts, seeds, and healthy fat in a different form. So let the body pick it up. So it'll be a exercise for body. And that way brain works more, because now you're leaving everything to body, that, this is the supply for you. What you got, and there is nothing, no garbage, no packed food, and none of the other things. And I also take Juice Plus, so, which is like natural nutrients. And our food, I also have organic garden at home. So like, I'm stretching this answer like on purpose. I did one research at my tower garden. So I given it once nutrient only. So like, I am feeling bad for my plants. So I did it for 1 week, and all the leaves were like, either they are pale yellow, and they are like, kind of this. And when I give them full nutrients, which are mineral, rock, that they are minerals. When I give them full complete minerals and full supply, then they are like thriving. And they are beings, we are beings.
Right.
So should we put in our body, and then if we are waiting, going through drive-thrus, that food. So you have to make a
Conscious choice.
Choice that there has to be a balance.
Right. No, that's really good, Priyanka. I think I will move on to the next question. My function. Obviously, a lot of will reflect off what you put in. But is there any other explanation or answer that would fit into the category of how do we actually optimize our brain functions? Kristen, it's
the other thing I would actually add in. Now, this is not about food, because remember, I know we're talking about micronutrition. However, there is one nutrient that most people don't think of as a nutrient, and that's oxygen. And so I do want to mention that for our brain, but also our brain needs oxygen. We can't survive without oxygen. And so really thinking about how much air we're actually taking in on a daily basis. Now, we have to be very mindful of this now, because of a lot of what, the coverings that people are using on their faces. And I do a lot of energy work and frequency work. And I have a device where I can it scans the body to determine kind of what's going on in the body on many different levels. And my 2 older kids who work, and of course they have to go to work and they have to wear this, this device has actually picked up that they're lacking oxygen in their body. And the only reason why they're lacking oxygen in their body is because of this. And so it's extremely important that, when we talk about alkalizing the body, these thrive in an acidic environment. Health thrives and the body thrives in an alkaline environment. When we talk about more fruits and vegetables, when we talk about micronutrition, we're talking about alkalizing the body. So when we are lacking oxygen, then our body is becoming more acidic and disease thrives in an acidic environment. It's as simple as that. And so when we eat more produce, then, for example, then of course we're feeding more oxygen. When we can breathe deeper, right, and focus on, if those of us listening by recording or listening live, just really start focusing on your breath. Like when you breathe, you know, if you have your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly and just start to breathe, what hand is actually rising first? For most people, they're breathing very shallow. So, so we have to focus on slowing down, right? Tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system and focusing as we breathe, moving that breath down into our belly, and then as we exhale to slowly let it go. Because once we can oxygenate the body, oxygenate the brain, which oxygen is a nutrient, then what will happen is our brain will start to work better. So, you know, as we get older, and you know, Priyanka, we've heard this before. I mean, brain diseases, not even just talking about kids, but in general, brain diseases are Alzheimer's. We know all of them, right?
Yes.
They are becoming normal. It's becoming normal. And so my passion is around optimal health, of course, aging well, redefining the aging process. Because it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to get to the point where, you know, we end up with X disease, right? Or, you know, whatever it might be. We have to look at what we're doing on a daily basis now. And so everything that has been talked about in these past 3 sessions are, if you just, you know, those listening, if we just put, you know, take one thing from each session and incorporate it and make it a habit. Because when you do that, you may not see results immediately, or you might, but it's not about what's happening right now. It's about the compound effect and what's going to happen now in 6 months. If you incorporate something we're talking about today and you do that every single day, and if you happen to have a day where you miss or whatever, you just get back on the horse again, right? It's you didn't fail, you just get back up again. Is in 6 months, you will see a change in your body. Because I know, let's just say, my oldest is 19, and when she was born, that's when I really got into the holistic world. And 19 years ago, that was like, you're doing what? Like, people were just weirded out by it. So I continued, and I learned, and I went to school, and I studied, and I just incorporated, and it was just a passion of mine. And 19 years later, I can tell you, I was 28 then, I'm 47 now. I can tell you that I would not be where I am in my health. Now, did I see it initially? See changes? Not necessarily. I had symptoms in my body. Yeah, they started changing. But 19 years later, I look back and I go, wow, I know at 47, I would not be living the life that I am in terms of my health if I had not started putting these things into place, right? So we don't have to think about 19 years from now. Just start now and remember that your body changes, and remember that oxygen is a nutrient, and we need to make sure that we are we're focusing on deep breaths. So I just wanted to add that.
So for pointing that, and also thank you for sharing your story and how you got into this holistic nutritional ways of living. So, but honestly, I really had to think back and remind myself, yes, oxygen is a nutrient in our body. And it just does not cross your mind. So sometimes you have to be really mindful, and people like you who are so eloquent and who are so, with so much of knowledge, we sometimes really need to take a moment to learn and understand your routine, and like as simple as that one takeaway from each session is going to take us a long way. So no, I really do appreciate that. I'll move on to my next question. Kristen, it's are taking the supplements enough? Or should we be just aiming to eat foods that contain those micronutrients that we are trying to cover up through our supplements?
Yeah, great question. So this is what we want to remember. We can never out-supplement a bad diet. Okay, so we can never. So supplements are supplements. The first thing is you never want to take a capsule of anything and let it replace good quality food. We have to eat, period. Okay, so that's number one. However, we need to fill the gap. Our food, we already know, this is proven, that our food does not contain the nutrients that it did when our grandparents were around. What our grandparents ate 90 years ago, 80 years ago, 70 years ago, whatever it is, what they ate, they had a different start than us. The food is just different. I posted on Facebook actually today or yesterday and showing, you know, that the shelves on the grocery store, it's a picture of a grocery store and it's just packaged food. And Priyanka, I think you had sent me last month a picture of, I think it was Pop-Tarts and the ingredients. This is not food. Like, this is not food, right? So we have to get back to not, it doesn't mean you can't eat that stuff if that's what you're used to eating, but we need real food. So, but because we don't get the nutrients from our food that the food used to be, this is why as well I use juice plus as opposed to supplementing, because our body recognizes whole food concentrate. The body recognizes fruits, vegetables, and berries in their natural form. And so when you have a capsule that you can open up, or it's like a salad bar in a capsule. So I have that for my family. I've been using that 13 years. And I offer that to clients as well because it's a foundation. So if we can fill the gap from what we're not getting, then what's going to happen is that micronutrition that is in that capsule or the gummy is going to supply the body what the body's not getting from the good food that we're eating. But unfortunately, nowadays, we have to add. So, but the key though is that when we look at, say, vitamin C, right now, it's good to increase our vitamin C. But we don't want to increase our vitamin C from ascorbic acid, because especially if you're under the weather and you need lots of it, because you can take lots of it, it's water soluble, your body will just urinate it out if it's got too much. But ascorbic acid will burn a hole in your stomach, and we don't want that. So we want to look at sources like camu, berries, elderberry, all of these, peppers, for example, that are very high in vitamin C naturally. So when we take them in, our body's like, oh, I know what to do with them, right? So yes, you do need to supplement, but just for the right supplement.
Okay, all right, very well. We're thinking of time without really having to be 5:30, and I just quickly checked if any of our audience, if they had any questions, but there aren't any. So in case we have not answered any of your questions, or if you have any more questions, this is for the audience, please send us a message on our Instagram at We Serve Canada. And basically this wraps up our third workshop, and I really would like to first all learned something new, and I'd really like to thank our elite speakers and for all the wonderful information that you have given, both Kristen and Priyanka. And I really liked the thought, which I will reiterate, that please If you felt that this session was valuable, please take one thing away from this session and incorporate it daily in your life. And as I said, don't keep your term. Definitely, as time goes on, if you incorporate small things, it is going to actually show a good results later on in our lives. So thank you so much to our eminent speakers, and we look forward to talking with them again on January the 19th for a fourth workshop, which is going to be called Balanced Blood Sugar for Optimal Health. And remember to follow us on our to win $100. See you next week at our workshop. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and take care of yourself.
Thank you.